Everyone talks about India's economic growth, the GDP numbers, the billionaires, the stock market highs. But there are 5 shocking truths about India's economy that nobody wants to talk about. Secrets hiding in plain sight that completely change how you should think about money, jobs, and wealth in this country. And number 1 is so controversial, it might make you rethink everything you know about India's future. If you're tired of surface-level economic news and want the real story behind India's economy, hit that like button right now and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me, do you think India's economy is as strong as they say it is? Let's uncover the truth together. India's economic story is incredible on paper. We're the 5th largest economy in the world, projected to become 3rd by 2030. Our stock market keeps hitting new highs, our tech sector is booming, and everyone's talking about India being the next superpower. But here's what they don't tell you in those feel-good headlines. There's another side to this story, a side that's just as important to understand if you actually want to build wealth, find opportunities, or make smart decisions in India. Today, I'm breaking down 5 uncomfortable truths about India's economy that the mainstream media, politicians, and even economists often gloss over. These aren't criticisms, they're insights that will help you navigate the real India, not the India of presentations and PowerPoints. Number 5. India's GDP growth hides massive income inequality. Yes, India's GDP is growing at 6 to 7% annually, one of the fastest in the world. But here's what nobody tells you, that growth isn't reaching everyone equally, not even close. The top 10% of Indians own over 77% of the country's wealth, while the bottom 50% own just 3%. Let that sink in. When you hear, India's economy grew by 7%, what that really means is that some sectors and some people are getting much richer, while millions are still struggling with the same income they had 5 years ago. The wealth gap is widening, not closing. A recent Oxfam report found that India's richest 1% owns more than 40% of total wealth, one of the highest concentrations in the world. This matters because when economic growth is this unequal, it creates a dual economy. There's one India where people shop at malls, take Ubers, and invest in stocks. And there's another India where people still worry about affording basic necessities. Both exist simultaneously, and if you want to understand the real Indian economy, you need to see both. The opportunities are massive, yes, but they're not evenly distributed, and that creates both challenges and specific opportunities for smart entrepreneurs who can bridge this gap. Number 4. The employment crisis nobody wants to address. Here's a fact that will shock you. India needs to create roughly 8 to 10 million jobs every year just to keep up with the number of young people entering the workforce. But we're not even close to that number. India's unemployment rate has been hovering between 7 to 8%, and youth unemployment, that's people aged 15 to 29, is even worse at over 15% in recent years. But the real kicker? These are just official numbers. Millions more are underemployed, meaning they have jobs but earn far less than they need to survive comfortably. We're producing millions of graduates every year from thousands of colleges and universities, but the jobs aren't there. This is why you see 25,000 people applying for 60 railway jobs, or why engineering graduates are driving Olas and delivering food. It's not because they lack skills or ambition, it's because the economy isn't generating quality employment fast enough. The IT sector, which everyone points to as India's success story, employs only about 5 million people directly. That sounds like a lot until you realize India's workforce is over 500 million people. Manufacturing, which should be absorbing millions, is still heavily automated or hasn't scaled enough. This employment crisis is creating a huge problem: educated, frustrated youth with no opportunities. But here's the flip side, it's also creating a massive entrepreneurship push. When jobs don't exist, people create their own. This is partly why India's startup ecosystem is exploding. Number 3. The informal economy is bigger than you think. This one will blow your mind. Roughly 90% of India's workforce works in the informal sector. That's nearly 450 million people working without job security, benefits, pensions, or even written contracts. These are street vendors, daily wage laborers, small shop owners, farmers, drivers, domestic workers, and countless others who form the backbone of India's economy but remain almost invisible in official statistics. When COVID-19 hit, we saw the true scale of this. Millions of migrant workers walked hundreds of kilometers home because they had no safety net, no savings, no formal employment to fall back on. The informal economy contributes about 50% of India's GDP, Yet these workers have almost no protection or support. Here's what nobody tells you. This massive informal sector is both India's strength and its weakness. It's a strength because it's incredibly flexible, resilient, and entrepreneurial. These workers hustle, adapt, and survive against all odds. But it's a weakness because it means half the economy operates outside government oversight, tax collection, and regulation. When economists talk about formalizing the economy, they mean bringing these workers and businesses into the system. GST was supposed to help with this, and it has to some extent, but we're still decades away from a truly formalized economy. For investors and entrepreneurs, this matters enormously. The informal sector represents massive untapped potential. If you can build products, services, or financial solutions for informal workers, you're tapping into a market of 450 million people who are largely underserved by traditional businesses and banks. Number 2. India's banking and debt problem is scarier than you think. Let's talk about something that should concern every Indian: the health of our banking system. India's banks, especially public sector banks, are sitting on mountains of bad loans, what's called non-performing assets or NPAs. At its peak, Indian banks had over 10 Indian rupees lakh crores in bad loans. That's money lent out that's never coming back. While this has improved somewhat, the problem hasn't disappeared, it's just been masked by various government schemes and restructuring. Here's what this means for ordinary Indians. When banks are stuck with bad loans, they become more cautious about lending to new businesses, startups, or even individuals. Credit becomes tight. Small businesses struggle to get loans. Entrepreneurs can't access capital. The economy slows down. But it gets worse. Household debt in India is also rising sharply. More Indians are borrowing through personal loans, credit cards, and easy EMI schemes. Consumer debt has exploded with apps offering instant loans and buy now pay later schemes. On the surface, this looks like financial inclusion and access, but underneath, it's creating a potential crisis. Many Indians are borrowing to fund consumption, not investment, buying phones, clothes, and gadgets on credit without having the income to support it. If the economy hits a rough patch or unemployment rises, we could see a wave of defaults. The banking sector's health is the foundation of any economy, and India's foundation has cracks. This doesn't mean India's economy will collapse, but it does mean there are structural vulnerabilities that could limit how fast we can grow. Number 1. India's growth story depends on things we don't control ****. And here's the biggest secret nobody wants to admit. India's economic success isn't just about what we do internally, it's heavily dependent on global factors we have zero control over. Let me explain. India imports about 85% of its crude oil. When global oil prices spike, our entire economy suffers. Our import bill explodes, the rupee weakens, inflation rises, and suddenly everything from petrol to vegetables becomes more expensive. We also depend heavily on exports to the US, Europe, and China. When those economies slow down, they buy less from us and our growth takes a hit. Then there's geopolitics. India sits in one of the most complex neighborhoods in the world. Tensions with China affect trade and investment. Relations with Pakistan impact security and investor confidence. Global supply chain disruptions like we saw during COVID expose how dependent we are on imports for everything from electronics to medical equipment. Climate change is another massive factor. India is extremely vulnerable to extreme weather, floods, droughts, heat waves. Agriculture still employs nearly 45% of our workforce, and bad monsoons can devastate rural incomes and trigger economic slowdowns. Here's the uncomfortable truth. For all our talk of self-reliance and Atmanirbhar Bharat, we're deeply integrated into a global economy where we don't call the shots. China's decisions affect us. America's Federal Reserve policies affect us. Middle East conflicts affect us. This isn't necessarily bad, every country is interdependent now, but it means India's growth story has limits and vulnerabilities that are outside our control. The smart money in India understands this and hedges accordingly, diversifying investments, building businesses that aren't solely dependent on exports, and preparing for global shocks. Now, before you think I'm being too negative, let me be clear. India's economic potential is absolutely real. We have demographics on our side, a young population, a growing middle class, a booming digital economy, and incredible entrepreneurial energy. But potential isn't the same as guaranteed success. The 5 things I just shared aren't reasons to be pessimistic, they're reasons to be realistic. Understanding income inequality helps you identify underserved markets and opportunities. Knowing about the employment crisis explains why entrepreneurship is booming and where future growth will come from. Recognizing the size of the informal economy shows you where massive untapped potential lies. Being aware of banking vulnerabilities helps you make smarter financial decisions and protect your wealth. And understanding our dependence on global factors helps you prepare for volatility and build resilience. The difference between people who succeed in India's economy and those who don't often comes down to this. Successful people see reality clearly. They don't just believe the hype, and they don't just focus on the problems. They see both the opportunities and the challenges, and they position themselves accordingly. Conclusion. So there you have it, 5 things about India's economy that nobody tells you. Income inequality that's among the worst in the world. An employment crisis creating millions of frustrated but entrepreneurial youth. An informal economy that's massive, invisible, and full of opportunity. A banking sector with serious structural issues that could limit growth. And a dependence on global factors we simply don't control. These aren't secrets because people are hiding them, they're secrets because they're uncomfortable, complex, and don't fit into simple narratives about India becoming a superpower. But if you want to truly understand India's economy, if you want to build wealth, find opportunities, or make smart decisions, you need to know these truths. The real India exists somewhere between the optimistic projections and the pessimistic warnings, and that's where the smartest opportunities lie. If this video gave you a deeper understanding of India's real economic story, smash that subscribe button and hit the bell icon so you never miss our brutally honest takes on Indian money and economy. Comment below and tell me, which of these 5 secrets shocked you the most? Do you agree or disagree with my analysis? And if you know someone who only sees one side of India's economic story, share this video with them. Let's build a community that understands the real India, not just the headlines. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one where we keep uncovering the truth about money, wealth, and economic reality in India.